welcome to BVI's Little Secret. A lot of times when I see on the community boards, there's lots of questions about sailing schools and bareboating. So I thought I would come to one of the experts. He's one of the experts. There's lots of different opinions in the BVI, but Matt's been here for so long, I thought I'd start with him first. All right, Matt, RYA, ASA, what do they stand for?
ASA is American Sailing Association.
Okay.
RYA is Royal Yachting Association. In one respect, it depends on where you live.
Okay.
So ASA is very popular in North America if you're from the States.
Mm-hmm.
There's also U.S. sailing in the States.
Okay.
In North America, if you're from Canada, it might be the CSA, the Canadian Sailing Association.
Okay.
If you're from UK or Europe, you're more likely than not familiar with RYA.
Okay. And if you're coming down here to charter, what certification is there one that's better, or does it matter? They recognize both?
I've taught and delivered both. They are both recognized. I think it is largely a function of where you live, what's
Mm-hmm.
available, and often is the case in a tourist destination, a holiday destination like the BVI. There will be both.
Okay.
And some of my most successful trainings were actually when people went between the two.
Okay.
And got the benefit of experiencing both sides of the pond from training as it happens.
What would you say the major differences between the two, besides location? Not.
I regard them both very highly.
Okay.
I think in both cases, to take ASA and RWA, for example, the end user is a competent, qualified, cautious sailor who is having fun on the water with family and friends.
Awesome.
I think
Okay.
that's critical. The RYA training scheme does allow the opportunity to get commercial endorsement. So for anyone who is thinking about sailing courses, not just for vacation, but potentially for a career, the RYA is a stronger path.
Who are the ideal candidates for sailing school?
So I'm biased here because I taught for a living.
Yeah.
I think everyone should learn how to sail. And by learn how to sail, I think there's something to be said for taking some structured training. The best way I can explain it is prior to my sailing in the Virgin Islands, I worked in like the alpine industry and the ski industry, and I was a ski patroller and a snowboarder. A snowboard instructor, a ski patroller and a snowboard instructor. And I would watch people every day come to these mountains, these beautiful places to enjoy the outdoors. And those that couldn't ski or snowboard that well didn't have the same experience.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying they necessarily got hurt, they just didn't have the same experience. If you can get a baseline of knowledge and ability, and then take to a sailing vessel with some room to get experience, you will have so much more fun. And for me, it's always been about having fun.
So I know that we don't know maybe the answer to this question for all of the charter companies in the BVI, but generally, what certification for RYA or ASA do you need to have in order to rent a boat on your own without a captain?
So I'm a few years out of bareboat rentals, so I can't say what is required, but any bareboat company would ask for a resume of sailing experience. And so the renter, the person that's booking the holiday, has to be able to demonstrate boating experience, and each charter company has the right to query that resume. If someone possesses a sailing certification and has the rating that the company is looking for, that's a much quicker resume vetting process. And for those that aren't sure where they are, all the charter companies are so good at this.
Yeah.
And they offer like a one-day skipper to assess. They offer crewed charters where you actually have a staff member on the boat with you for the week who will do as much or as little as you'd like.
So say I'm going on vacation. Say I'm the captain and I'm fully certified. I've got lots of hours under my belt. I'm completely competent in it. But everyone that I'm bringing doesn't have any sailing experience. Would you recommend that they take a course at home, that they're going to be okay? Like, what would you recommend for a safe vacation that your requirements for your crew have?
I hear what you're saying. I think there's a couple things in there. The first one would be if you can get any sailing classes done at home before you get here, that's recommended. Take a 101 sailing, just the introduction, even if it's on a weekend. And that's for 2 or 3 reasons. Number one, it will expose you to sailing opportunities that you didn't know existed at home, because not everyone can spend years and years in the BVI, although you should, because it's great. You will find a local sailing center or a club that's near your home or an hour away, and you might find yourself going there to sail a lot.
Yeah.
Number two, if you can have a second person on the boat that can do some of it. In my experience, when a family goes on a bareboat holiday and there's one member of the family that's the sailor, it could be mom, it could be dad, they raced in college, they have a maritime background, and the other one is from the Midwest and has never sailed. Whatever it is, if it is only one person on the boat that knows how to do everything, then they could potentially have a really tiring week on the water.
Yeah.
Unless they're ready to make the vacation a coaching and instruction vacation, which for some of your guests, they might not want that.
Yeah.
So I would recommend that at least one member of the booking party has the rating, and a second member of the booking party has some boating experience. Yeah.
Here's a side note. I also managed Virgin Islands Search and Rescue. That was a crew member and board member for many years. If you are only one person on the boat that knows how to sail the boat, make sure your crew know, one, how to drop the sails in an emergency, how to turn the engine on and off, and can switch on the GPS to tell emergency services where you're located. Side note. Okay. Back to you, Matt. What are the pros and cons of getting your certification here in the BVI versus where you're from?
The BVI is the most exquisite classroom I've ever seen.
Yeah.
It is really hard to compete with the natural surroundings. And I use the skiing example again to learn how to ski or learn how to ski well at a champion alpine resort. You know, Colorado Rockies, the French Alps, where you're just, you know, you're in this environment that you really can only visit when you are skiing or sailing through it. The BVI is, I think, the best place to learn how to do this stuff, not just because it's pretty, but it's almost always windy. The weather is suitable to this type of training. There's such a variety in the topography and in the hydrography. There's nice flat, calm sailing for skills and drills, and then just around the island you might get your taste of an ocean passage, if only for an hour. Pause for the airplane. You're really close to the airport, which is super convenient. If you're on Silver, welcome to the BVI. The pros are you are learning to sail where you want to go sailing. So in addition to learning the onboard skills and tasks of sailing, you're also getting a captain or instructor-led tour of the Virgin Islands. So the do's and don'ts are kind of baked in.
Well, you also get to then come back and kind of know where you're going.
And I was going to speak to that. Most of the trainings, if you have no experience whatsoever and you seek to come down here in one swing of the bat and get up to the bareboat level of ability, it's going to take you at a minimum 10 days, and in some cases a little bit longer. And that's a lot of school for one trip.
Yeah.
If you can do that introductory sailing at home and get exposed to a sailing grounds in your home area that you can go back and visit, not formally on vacation, but on the weekends, if you can then come down and do a 7-day intermediate level training, which will get you to the bareboat level, and to get that done in a week, I would suggest tacking 3 or 4 days or a second week. Come down to the BVI for 10 days, get your certification in 7, and then do a long weekend victory lap.
Yeah, because you then get to put into practice everything you just learned to reaffirm it. I mean,
it's
there's
fresh.
one,
You've already paid for the flights. You're here.
All
the information that the instructor showed you just last week, it's still fresh on the top of your head. So there's no skills fade. There's no what did he say about that or what did she say. And as great as it is being an instructor, and I loved it, I did it for years, I knew that the happiest moment was the time that my students would go out without me on their first voyage.
Yeah.
And they would come back on the dock, and I'd see them and catch their lines or meet them after the day or after their first bareboat trip, and I could just see the confidence, the stories. It's really
Because
hard
it's one
to
thing
describe.
to learn the sailing, and being able to stay on a boat overnight for consecutive days is definitely different than if you're just doing like a day course.
Correct.
So it's learning all of the, electronics, and where's the shower head, and where's this button, and why is there water still in my head, all of those little things. So if you get to stay for an extra couple days, you get to kind of learn while you're still here, and you can call with questions.
I've never seen a vacation like this. If you were to ask me what was bareboating before I got to the BVI, I couldn't answer the question. To go out into the environment here in the Caribbean on a modern yacht that has all the amenities, it is a luxury experience, but it's also got a little sprinkling of camping.
Yeah, absolutely.
Glamour camping, I've heard it said
Glamping.
before. Yep. And it's sailing. You're moving the boat from A to B.
Yeah.
There is a tremendous amount of engineering where you have to understand how all the things work.
Yep.
Not unlike being on an RV. If you're on in an RV going across the Midwest.
It's not a kickback and relax vacation. It's an active working vacation.
It's not, but you enjoy
yes.
enjoy your leisure when you get there.
Yeah.
And if you've got a family or a group of friends that love it,
There's nothing better.
I can't think of a better way, a more active vacation. You can leave your screens, in the rooms and just be out snorkeling and be out in the elements, and it's gorgeous every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if they're at home and they're Googling and researching, what are some key things they should be looking for when they're looking at different schools?
I would definitely recommend one with the certifications that we talked about. So I think first and foremost, get a training that is recognized, especially if you plan to use it in other charter destinations. The schools that are affiliated with a recognition will have easy access to reviews and testimonials. Any school is only as strong as its teachers, and so read about the instructors. The people are happy to celebrate good experiences in this type of holiday making, and the British Virgin Islands, in my opinion, has some of the best sailing instructors that I've ever met. And I don't teach anymore, so I'm not talking
We just know
about
them
me.
socially, and they're really great.
They're just there's something really magic about someone who wants to get on a boat and show you how it works. It's a 24-hour-a-day school, so you're sailing during the day.
Yeah, I was
You're
just
learning
gonna say,
how
what
to
does
do.
a typical day look like?
It's bareboat cruising is learning how to sail, but also learning how to live on a boat. So the sailing courses will show you not just how all the lines and rigging function, but they'll show you how to safely prepare meals in the galley. They'll show you how to properly check and troubleshoot the engine. They'll show you how the bathrooms work, the heads, which
So
the first
important.
time you're on a boat, it's different.
Yeah.
They'll show you how to secure the boat at night so you can feel comfortable going to sleep, because you sleep on the boat. In most cases, you're moored or anchored in a harbor where you are in the most beautiful natural environments, but you're out there on your own.
Yep.
And just like that skiing trip, there is room for error when you're on the water. You have to be mindful of the weather. You have to be mindful of hazards in the water that you're supposed to avoid, navigating safely around them. These things are best taught and then practiced. And if you can combine that in a sailing school plus vacation, it's the best of both.
I know when we were at Sail Caribbean, we always had like teachable moments. So even if you were done for the day with your curriculum, if something popped up that night and it was a teachable moment, you would obviously take advantage of that. When you're out on a sailing course, I'm figuring that teachable moments do come up, but is there like you're on course from 8 to 5 and then you have some downtime when you're doing a course, or is it constant, like over dinner you're still teaching material? Are you supposed to study at night? Like how much downtime does someone get when they're, say, on an ASA or RYA introductory course?
To be honest, the training centers, when they book these certification weeks, they're packing in the learning to the times that you have available. So if you're on an ASA course or an ROA course, you can expect to be actively doing sailing lessons from breakfast finish till dinner start.
Okay.
Conversations over meals are often about sailing, but a good instructor will mix it up a bit and get to know a bit about you as well. There's teachable moments all the time. In the evening, there might be a little bit of book reading. Depending on the certification you take, there might be a written exam. So yeah, you are in school. Do you get a chance to swim every day? Yeah. Can you have a snorkel before the day starts, or can you have a snorkel right at the end of the day? Yep.
Can you have a glass of wine at dinner?
Can you toast a really great day out on the water? Absolutely. But it is sailing school first.
Now you can be on American.
Welcome, American Airlines.
When you're on the course, these are like the nitty gritty questions, like who does the cooking, who does the cleaning? Well, you're paying, so like, are you also paying for someone to cook and clean for you, or how does that work?
So on a sailing school, on a certified training week, you are typically out with one staff member, an instructor who's a licensed captain, and she or he is trained and qualified to show you how everything works. They're not your chef. Okay. They're not your butler or your valet, but they're exceptional people. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so a good instructor is gonna, show you how the galley works, and they'll probably, prep a meal for you, show you how everything works, including how to clean up afterwards. But the expectation would be that.
Would you guys like rotate?
Yeah, and those are often the best nights.
Yeah.
Is when you and this is all part of the learning. When you come back to take that bareboat out, and you've got 3 other couples, and you're all friends. If you're driving the boat all day because you've got the license and you're trying to cook everything because you know where the switch is, you haven't had a vacation. And the crews that learn not just how to sail a boat, but how to work a boat together well, have some of the best stories and experiences at the end. You can assign chores and duties and tasks to your crew that are part of the vacation. It's not bad work, it's fun work. And then in the evenings, there's a ceremonial passing of the responsibility to the next captain or the next chef or the next dinghy driver or whatever it might be. And that's where bareboating, I think, really rises above other holidays.
Here's another quick tip. We learned very quickly at Sail Caribbean the best first crew meal that you're cooking on board is burrito night, because there's so much to chop and prep, and there's so much to do. You get everyone involved. Everyone gets used to being in the galley or is doing something, and you're working together as a team. It might sound silly, but it is one of the best meals because everyone's working together, and it sets the precedence at first. That first night, we're going to work together to make this meal and this boat work.
Just thinking how many years of burritos.
Oh my God, how many burrito nights do we have? Oh geez, lots and lots of burrito nights. When you're on course, if there is a night that works out on your schedule and you're going ashore for a meal, would it be customary for the crew to pay for the teacher or instructor's meal?
It is customary. It is a kindness. I guess the best way to say it is that the captain, the instructor, is committing 24 hours a day attention to your outcomes. So we all go to sleep for a few hours at night, but if there's a wind shift or a wiggle or a wobble, you can rest assured that your instructor is going to be eyes on it. During the day, they have nothing but your safety and enjoyment in mind. And a ship travels on its belly, but so does the crew. So everybody's hungry at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Most of the time, the sailing schools will have a package that includes a partial provisioning. So you can potentially, everybody's a little different, but you can expect to have, your breakfasts on the boat, maybe 3/4 of your lunches on the boat, and maybe only 1/4 of the dinners on the boat, with the expectation that exploring once you get there is part of the fun.
Really?
It would be good to ensure that the instructor, has a meal to take. And that's not to say that it might be a special holiday with the family that they would like to take ashore, and that the captain has a meal provisioned on board. You know, I've had many weeks where the family will say, look, this is, you know, would you come join us for dinner tonight? Or it's our anniversary. Can you give us a good table for two?
Yeah.
And in both cases, I'm delighted, and I'm also delighted.
Yeah.
You know, I want you guys to have fun.
Yeah. It's their vacation.
But yeah, as somebody making the booking, you should anticipate, you know, looking after the victualling of the crew.
For sailing schools, if you're picking up a mooring ball or docking or anything, those fees are already included, right?
Not usually. The fees, the bareboat fees associated with hiring the boat, insurance, permits, would all be included. The customer, the fuel most likely will be
What about
pre-purchased.
Ice? Garbage?
They might start you off with a bag of ice. The bareboat or the sailing school student during the week can be expected to pay or split amongst the crew the cost of overnight moorings, any trash removal. Recycling is free, and your instructor will know where the recycling drop-offs are, but sometimes there's a per bag price for trash.
Yep.
And then, as you said, ice. If the boat needs water, if you've consumed the tanks of water and need to top up, you can expect that cost to be split amongst the crew. Additional provisions. You know, if you have a hungry boat and you need a little more food to get through the week, that would be shared by the crew.
Okay. All right. So for our last segment, I'm gonna normally do a quick fire, asking Matt a bunch of questions, but Matt's gonna come back and talk to us about bareboating. So make sure that you stay tuned for that vlog. We're going to find out what his best anchorage is, his favorite place to go get a cheeseburger, his favorite snorkel spot. We're going to do all that in the next vlog. So thank you, Matt.
It's a pleasure. Good to see you, Julie.
I don't really believe him.
I'm very shy on camera. Sorry.
Thank you. I'll leave his contact details if anyone has any follow-up questions. If you also wanted to book a special time to chat with Matt and I, those details will be down below in the information box. And thanks for joining us today on BVI's Little Secret.